and Sidney Powell is with us now. Sidney, it's great to have you with us, and I so much look forward to seeing you in person tomorrow at the Omni Hotel, 6 o'clock. Thanks for coming to Richmond.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be great to see you, too.
Sidney, we're going to have a big crowd there. Got a lot of people coming. They first heard you on my show a long time ago, selling your book at the time, License to Lie. Got a bunch of people saying, oh, I'm going to get my book out and come have her sign it. I know you'd be willing to do that. But Sidney, go ahead.
Glad to do that. Yeah, I'll be thrilled to do that for anybody.
Well, thank you for doing this. I mean, thanks for coming to Richmond and the Omni for Leon, and I know it's a big effort. Flying into Richmond isn't an easy thing to do. It's not like flying into D.C. So thank you for that, and we look forward to having you tomorrow. Tell us about where you are right now with the Michael Flynn case, and then I want to go to the Hunter Biden mess.
Well, Judge Sullivan entered an order Friday afternoon asking the government to provide him their own transcripts of raw notes that were submitted as part of the exculpatory evidence they've been finding since Mr. Jensen, the U.S. Attorney in Missouri, came in the case to give it an independent review when we moved to withdraw the guilty plea and moved to dismiss it for government misconduct. So he's going to get those transcripts today, and he's demanding that the government certify under penalty of perjury that the copies are accurate and identify who wrote each one and just give him all the information they could possibly give him, most of which was in their discovery letters already, but never mind. And then we're still waiting on him to decide to dismiss the case, which was ordered to be done by the D.C. Circuit more than 60 days ago now, I think, and the hearing was 3 weeks ago tomorrow. So we're just waiting and waiting and waiting for him to do what the law required him to do back on May 8th.
Where does Michael Flynn go from here, Sidney?
Well, it depends on what the judge does in his order. I mean, frankly, I don't expect him to do what every case in the country says he should do, which is dismiss it with prejudice. So we'll probably be going to the Supreme Court one of these days.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's just unbelievable what this man has gone through, destroying his family, making him claim bankruptcy, taking his everything he's worked for. But I got to tell you, Sidney, you've come on my show. I've been on the air for 9 years. You've come on my show religiously for a 9-year period. And it's almost, if you look back to your book, A License to Lie, it all played out in this Michael Flynn case. In Russiagate, it all played out. Everything you predicted, but everything you said was happening, all played itself, all manifested itself. It's almost as if that book was when you write something and it's like a futuristic,
premonition.
Premonition, like a futuristic work. I mean, you go back and read that. I was just reading a couple of chapters of it a couple of weeks ago, and it was like you predicted this whole thing was going to continue to happen. Unbelievable.
Yes, I mean, I wrote it to try to stop any more of this crap from happening. I've been screaming about this, as you know, since 2013. And doing my dead-level best to try to wake people up to the politicization and weaponization of our justice system, particularly by the Obama White House.
And the fake news legacy media has mocked you every step along the way, every single step. Every article on you was not favorable. Every single one that I read, it's all negative. And so they've mocked you, but now you're proven to be basically everything you said was happening, and everything you predicted is happening. Let's get to this laptop and Hunter Biden and Bubba Linsky and his testimony. And why is it, and of course it's not covered by any of the fake news as if it didn't happen. What do you make of this, Sidney Powell?
John, I can't tell you how angry I am with the FBI's failure to get on this and address it immediately. There are Foreign Agent Registration Act violations, actual ones with him acknowledging that he didn't want to file the registration form. Well, of course he didn't. I mean, can you imagine the news if the vice president's son, well, assuming we had a real news media, if anybody had noticed that the vice president's son was a registered agent for China, money laundering, all kinds of crimes evidenced in the transactions on that laptop, which, of course, Mr. Barbalinsky now completely verifies, but they would have been self-verifiable from many different angles, that the FBI has done nothing about that. Every person in the country should be livid, frankly, particularly the Democrats, who are left with a candidate even worse than Hillary Clinton, which no one thought was possible. We've got this corrupt and perverted Joe Biden, who's now mentally incapable in addition to being corrupt in every sense of the word.
So what happened? The FBI had this, they say, for a year. Why would they get this laptop for a year and do nothing?
Obviously, they got it to bury it just like they did the Wiener laptop for Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. That's the only logical explanation. And they did all that while they watched President Trump being impeached for absolutely doing nothing wrong in a phone conversation he was entitled to have and should have had with the Ukraine. The crimes they allowed to happen against this president while they're protecting Clinton and Biden and Obama and everybody else in on those deals is just, it just sends me over the edge.
Doesn't Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, doesn't he owe an explanation as to why they sat on this thing for a year? And look, they would still be sitting on it if the New York Post didn't come out with this article. They'd still be sitting on it, right?
Oh, yeah.
They would have sat on it
totally.
until after the election.
Yeah, they would have sat on it, period.
Just ignored it like it didn't happen.
It would never have come to light. It would be buried wherever the Wiener laptop is buried.
Unbelievable. And so why doesn't the president call in Christopher Wray to the Oval Office and ask him for an explanation? I mean, he serves at the pleasure of the president. Why doesn't he call him in? Have Mark Meadows there, 5 other witnesses, and say, okay, explain to me why you guys sat on this for 12 months. And you better give me an answer that I can digest, because if you don't, I'm going to fire you on the spot. Why can't he ask him that?
He could have, and from my perspective, he should have fired him. Actually, he should have fired him months ago. He should have fired him as soon as the evidence started coming out about Flynn that the FBI had been sitting on for 4 years.
And so he just lets Wray stand there. I guess he's waiting. He doesn't want to create another firestorm until after November 8th. You're in Dallas. You're in Texas. CBS fake poll just came out, said that Biden's up by 5 in Texas, right? We know it's fake because he's going to shut the oil industry down, and about 20% of all jobs in Texas are directly or indirectly affected by the energy industry. Give us a sense of what's happening in Dallas, Texas.
I think Texas is going to go very strong red for Trump. I just can't imagine. Frankly, I can't imagine anybody actually voting for Biden. It's a sign of severe Trump derangement syndrome and real problems to vote for him after everything that is known. It's irrational.
So getting back to the Bobolinsky testimony, don't you find it stunning that the guy does a press conference, he worked with him, he's got all this information, and not a single media company has asked him a question?
Well, that simply tells us how corrupt our media is. We don't have real media anymore, except for people like you and John Sullivan and Sarah Carter and Sean and Tucker and Laura and Rush Limbaugh, thank God, and a few people that are out there talking facts. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is American propaganda for the left. We've truly become a fascist country for the left, whether anybody wants to realize that or not. There's an integration and control of big corporate media with leftist ideology and the big tech companies, which is the true definition of fascism.
I mean, some of these text messages show that Joe Biden and Jill Biden may have been aware of some of what was on this laptop, especially involving other people, a minor child perhaps. But they had to be aware this laptop was missing, right? They just had to be aware of it. That's why didn't Biden's lawyer send a letter to the laptop repair company asking for the hard drive back? I mean,
yeah, I heard that. Yeah, somebody had requested it back. Of course, they have to know that anything involving Hunter is a serious problem, and they also have to know that there's a very serious problem in their family. And I think, frankly, it goes to Joe Biden himself, and that will come out sometime sooner rather than later, I hope.
Well, we can only hope so. I mean, I watched the Bo Belinsky press conference, and I'm just amazed that he's not on 60 Minutes. There's no CBS News. There's no NBC. There's no CNN. He's not even on Fox. Like, nobody asked the guy a question except the New York Post. And I had heard that the Wall Street Journal was going to do a big article. You know, I'm still waiting for that. But it's amazing. Trump has a phone call, and they impeach him. Biden is getting allegedly money funneled through his son for these various foreign countries, and nobody asks a question. It's
right.
I mean, I don't know how you go forward in a society that is so biased, sitting in one-sided, and it's got to be scary to people because basically doesn't matter what happens. If the FBI wants to get rid of you, they can, and if they don't, they don't.
Yep, they just act like it doesn't happen. I mean, I encountered the same thing with the exculpatory evidence we found in the Brown case that I wrote about in License to Lie. No, neither court, the district court and the Court of Appeals, just didn't even mention the yellow highlighted evidence that showed the prosecutors knew before the trial exactly how the defendants were innocent and hid it from us. They just pretend like it doesn't exist. It's really quite remarkable.
In order to what's the motive for that?
To keep two convictions against an innocent person.
Is it to forward a political agenda or their own careers?
Well, with respect to the Court of Appeals, I don't think it was to follow a political agenda. I think that judges oftentimes just don't want to believe badly of federal prosecutors because they rely on them so much. And it makes them look at the whole system and go, oh, God, we've got a serious problem. And instead of doing that, they just tend to find ways to excuse it. Well, we've got to stop excusing this. It's destroying the country. And it's definitely destroyed people's faith in the justice system.
Well, it's hard to trust the justice system when they had the laptop for a year and didn't act on it. And
this is absolutely inexcusable.
Yeah, but and the thing is, if there was nothing there, why are they acting on it now? Now that the story comes out of the New York Post and they have to respond, now they're acting on it, right? Now they want to look at it. Now they're saying, well, it could be problematic. I mean, if they looked at it, didn't think there was anything there, why aren't they saying the same thing now that they were saying 12 months ago privately?
Yeah, well, they've just lied about all of it, and Christopher Wray should have been fired months ago and still should be fired today. To hell with politics and blow up. I mean, what could blow up any more than what's already blown up? And there ought to be somebody in there today that's actually looking at things from a rational perspective and following the rule of law.
So if you're Biden right now, you really have no fear of any of this coming out between now and November 3rd, right? He figures
Biden, he's not mentally capable enough to know what's going on. I looked at a video of him with Jill sitting beside him yesterday, and she just looks absolutely devastated. I think he even called the president by the wrong name, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Yet, for that hour-and-a-half debate the other night, he did gather himself. I mean, he made a couple gasps, but they were pretty minor. So did he not put that to bed in that debate?
I think that was a stunning performance, but they're doing something to keep him going long enough and feeding him information enough to get through a debate. Frankly, it looked to me like he had all the questions in advance, had very canned answers. They'd probably rehearsed them with him repeatedly. I mean, there's no telling what they're doing to keep that man trying to float through the election.
Well, I mean, he took a week off. I mean, I think they put a lid. The debate was on a Thursday night, right? They put a lid on him on Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 6 days he prepared for the debate. Trump prepared for an hour and a half. After 7 rallies the previous 2 days.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of amazing that you can vote for this guy who has no energy. But you're right. You look at that video with his wife. She did look kind of horrified.
Yeah, she's a hostage. I mean, that's the look of a hostage. I don't know whether they threatened to blackmail them if they didn't go through with this, or how they even made Joe Biden and them pursue this candidacy, because there's never been a bigger fraud perpetrated on the American people than the candidacy of Joe Biden for president of the United States. And that's saying something, since all we've seen is one fraud or another since President Trump announced he was running.
What about Kamala Harris? She's been on the VP ticket since July, August, and she has yet to hold a press conference. I mean,
she's a total tool.
She's not held one
tool.
press conference.
Right, and the big question is, who are they planning or were planning to install as vice president? Because they picked Biden so they could take him out immediately. So Harris is the real candidate for president, and she was, of course, the least favored of all the Democratic candidates when she ran. Got the lowest votes of anybody. Nobody can stand her. But they could install her if they could get Biden elected. But the big question is, they had Biden on the ticket because they knew they could pull him out any time. They could knock him out with the 25th Amendment as soon as he got elected, because he's clearly incompetent, mentally unfit. So who were they going to pick? Because if Kamala were just, president November 4th, she gets to pick, just choose, without being elected, her vice president. So who is that going to be? That's the real question. And then is there a deal that Kamala resigns so that person could be president, i.e. Hillary Clinton or Valerie Jarrett or God only knows who?
Right. We don't know what deals they made.
Right.
Sidney Powell coming to Richmond tomorrow. You can come to this event. You can come meet her. You get your book signed. You can ask her questions. She's great. She's going to be at the Omni Hotel in Richmond. That's downtown Richmond at the Omni Hotel. Check this out. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. for Leon Benjamin. You want information, go to benjaminforcongress.com. It's only $125 a person, $250 a couple. This money goes to the Leon Benjamin campaign. And Sidney Powell coming to our Fair City Mart. Now, Sidney, when you come to Richmond, don't be shocked by the fact that the city was burned down. All the windows were boarded up. There's graffiti all over the place. F this, F that. Don't hold it against us. The mayor there, who's up for election November, LeVar Stoney, will not have the graffiti cleaned because he's afraid to offend his base. So,
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's a pretty awful sight, but we thank you for coming to Richmond. And I'll be there tomorrow. The Freud line will be there. All our friends will be there. Go to benjaminforcongress.com and see Leon. And of course, Sidney Powell tomorrow night at the Omni Hotel in Richmond. Sidney, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to Richmond for Leon. Thank you.
Thank you, John. My pleasure. See you tomorrow.